What moment in your life made you said, "Yep, I am dead," and you survived without major injuries? Trailer house fire when I was 11. I couldn't see anything, the air was burning my skin and lungs, and all I could think about was getting to my siblings, and only then was I allowed to die. I fell through the floor and managed to escape out the side of the crawl space. Had first and second degree burns all over my body. Felt like severe sunburn, but nothing majorly impacting my life. Everyone survived and firefighters even revived my parakeets with oxygen. Serious respect for firefighters. I was stopped at an intersection, looked up in my rear view mirror and saw a car coming for me and not slowing down. It was about the longest second of my life between when I saw them and when they hit me, and I watched helplessly out the front window as I was pushed into oncoming traffic. I was absolutely sure I was gonna be killed, but then everything had stopped, and I was just sitting there with accidents all around me. The woman who hit me actually got out of her car and ran over to my window and yelled, "Are you alive?" Which was a stupid question to ask, but at the same time, I honestly wasn't sure that I was. My brother and I were driving to high school in the morning and hit a patch of ice on the road. We slid into 6 lanes of traffic, no stopping. We miraculously made it across without hitting anything. We both looked at each other and were like we were supposed to die. In my student years 2000, I jumped in a supermarket trolley and let it roll from a steep, narrow road 100 meters long. At the end there was a metal fence. I did not see it when I jumped in, and when I see it, it was too late. I could not slow it down and speeding up really fast. I was sure I will break everything in my body, so I just let it happen. When the trolley hit the fence, it just hit it, and that was that. I don't feel pain. It was so weird. Nothing happened. Just a big bang and that's all. My friend that was running to me was also really shocked that it turned out fine. It really should not happen like this. 3 months ago I fell over a tiny rock and broke my elbow. I was 16, out with my cousin who was 18. It was like 2-3 a.m. We were down by a local river. He had this great idea to borrow a boat and go across the river and back. This river is used a lot for huge barges to transport to a local port. Stupid me said sure, as long as the boat is back before sunup nobody will notice. I cross okay. On the way back we caught a wave behind a barge and the boat turned over. So we dragged the boat back across the river, swimming with it in almost complete darkness. Got the boat back and turned back right, no damage thank God, all before the sun started to come up. Still have no clue how we made it back without anyone getting hurt or killed. If I found out either of sons tried this, I'd kill them. But I sure as hell did it with my best bud by my side. Well, it's cancer, the doctor. When I was younger I took a ballistic snowmobile straight to the noggin. Instead of smashing my head like a melon as it should have, it just left a small dent in my skull. Due to that incident I learned I have some kind of genetic condition that makes my bones super strong. Did you hear about war in Ukraine? I'm sure you did. On the first day of the war, my parents and I had the wonderful idea to go to one of the most dangerous places. I don't know why, but we thought it would be safer there than in the capital. I had too many thoughts that I was going to die right now, several times a day. Every day rockets flew into neighboring houses, whole streets burned, but miraculously me, my parents, and my 2 wonderful animals got out of that hell alive. Once while driving a rear-wheel drive car with lots of horsepower, I was driving to pick up my daughter and the weather turned. Snow, slick highway. I was cruising along when the car got loose. I tried to save it, but spun 3-4 times on the highway before sliding down a steep embankment. I remember thinking, oh shit, this is how I go. Thankfully the hill was slick, the car was heavy and low to the ground, and I just slid. It seemed like forever until I came to a stop. I figured my car was totaled and I was nowhere near home. People called 911 and they were expecting a fatality. I got out of the car, walked up the snowy hill and met the highway patrol. Thank goodness for his warm car. It took a Luan cable to winch it out, took it to a local truck stop. I pulled the front of the fender out, put on the spare and drove it home. I was even able to have the original tire remounted. No injuries other than my pride. Walked out into the road without looking and got the full headlight beams. Really puts the flash before you die into reality. Proud Midwesterner here. A few years ago in Iowa we had a pretty severe derecho that lost most of the power in the state for over a week, and oddly did not really make national news. I sent my family to the basement when the alarm started going off. But of course, DT my heritage and lack of more than one brain cell, I stayed upstairs in the living room watching from a gigantic bay-type window. When the actual derecho hit, I saw something like 5 trees instantaneously go down and what looked like a wall of death, and wind and water coming straight for me. I remember thinking clearly, this is how I die, but we were situated at the beginning of the derecho before it became full power. You'll never forget that feeling though. If you have ever felt that, you know what I mean. Once I was run over by a car. They passed over my legs. It could have been my chest or my head, but I was lucky. I stood up right after and picked up my trainer, that was 3 m away, then I fell off. I ended up with a strain, back pain where the car hit initially, and walking with crutches for a bit over a month, but I recovered with no major consequences. My first wet dream, I assume my kidneys are shot, but I didn't want to tell mom and make her sad. I patiently awaited my death. I tried my best to enjoy the following days. I didn't die, however, I have porn addiction now. I went to a lecture at university. The room that would usually fit 30 people was packed with about 90. Chairs cramped everywhere, all entrances but one in the front blocked. I was sitting in the very back. About 30 minutes into the lecture, we heard weird noises from above as the ceiling in the back of the room started to give in. When realization hit, it was a millisecond of fuck, I'm dead to my survival instinct kicking in. Rows of chairs and crowds of people in front of me, the only escape in the very front. I still have no real recollection of how I made it out of the room, just snippets. Afterwards, my legs were completely bruised, likely from jumping over and into way too many chairs. Remarkably, everyone must have moved at the same speed, everyone got out in time and no one was trampled. I was at a state fair and the safety harness failed on one of the rides. I wrapped my arms around the bar and held on for dear life. There was a large woman next to me who fell into me when the ride would go sideways and press me further towards all the gears and whatnot in the middle. Thought for sure I was dead. I complained to the managers and they blew me off, acted like I overreacted and basically asked me to leave. Fuck fairs and their unsafe bullshit rides. Motorcycle accident. Cruising in the right lane, truck pulling a trailer in the left lane tried to pass me in order to make an exit and sideswiped me at an admitted 85 mph. Took a long tumble, separated from the bike, bounced off an overpass guardrail, while all the cars entering the interstate managed to dodge me as a blind obstacle just as they were accelerating up to speed. Terrible place to be laid out from an accident. It was a bright sunny afternoon with no inclement conditions, but some ass just had to get around me to make his exit instead of waiting behind me. Driver admitted to speeding and being on his cell phone, which is a crime here, and the responding officer didn't even ticket him for it. EMS took 40 minutes to reach me. Driver nearly killed me and he got off with an improper lane usage ticket. Cop was an asshole and didn't buy my story. My hip is totally fucked up from the accident, but I survived, which is more than the conditions would typically allow. Simply got lucky. The bike was totaled, all my gear ruined except for a horsehide jacket. Wear your gear, everyone. The boat I was wakeboarding behind was bringing me the rope back after a fall. It was way too choppy to be out there and before I knew it the boat went over top of me. As I waited for the boat to pass over I heard the propeller was still going. Last thing I remember was foot being sucked into the prop and taking my last breath underwater before I drowned. Miraculously my board got jammed in the prop and I shot out the back puking and screaming.